Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/BrianEDenton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading and reflection is on chapter 158. Chapter 158. Anatoly went out of the room and returned a few minutes later wearing a fur coat girt with a silver belt and a sable cap jauntily set on one side and very becoming to his handsome face. Having looked in a mirror and standing before Dólokhov in the same pose he had assumed before it, he lifted a glass of wine. "Well, goodbye, Theodore. Thank you for everything and farewell," said Anatoly. "Well, comrades and friends," he considered for a moment, "of my youth, farewell," he said, turning to Makarin and then the others. Though they were all going with him, Anatoly evidently wished to make something touching and solemn out of this address to his comrades. He spoke slowly in a loud voice, and throwing out his chest, slightly swayed one leg. "I'll take glasses. You too, Balaga. Well, comrades and friends of my youth, we've had our fling, and lived and reveled, eh? And now, when shall we meet again? I am going abroad. We have had a good time. Now, farewell, lads, to our health. Hurrah!" he cried, and emptying his glass, flung it to the floor. "To your health," said Balaga, who also emptied his glass and wiped his mouth with his handkerchief. Makarin embraced Anatoly with tears in his eyes. "Ah, Prince, how sorry I am to part from you." Let's go, cried Anatoly. Balaga was about to leave the room. "No, stop," said Anatoly. "Shut the door. We have first to sit down. That's the way." They shut the door and all sat down. "Now, quick march, lads," said Anatoly, rising. Joseph, his valet, handed him his saber-touch and saber, and they all went into the vestibule. "And where's the fur cloak?" asked Dólokhov. "Hey, Ignaka, go to Martrenya Matveevna's house, and ask for her of the sable cloak. I have heard what elopements are like," continued Dólokhov with a wink. "Why, she'll rush out more dead than alive, just in the things she is wearing. If you delay at all, there'll be tears, and Papa and Mama, and she'll be frozen in a minute and must go back. But you wrap the fur cloak around her first thing and carry her to the sleigh." The valet brought a woman's foxline cloak. "Fool, I told you the sable one. Hey, Matrenya, the sable," he shouted, so that his voice rang far through the rooms. A handsome, slim, and pale-faced gypsy girl, with glittering black eyes and curly blue-black hair, wearing a red shawl, ran out with the sable mantle on her arm. "Here, I don't grudge it, take it," she said, evidently afraid of her master, and yet regretful of her cloak. Dólokhov, without answering, took the cloak, threw it over Matrenya, and wrapped her up in it. "That's the way," said Dólokhov, "and then so." And he turned the collar up around her head, leaving only a little of her face uncovered. "And then so, do you see?" And he pushed Anatoly's head forward to meet the gap left by the collar, through which Matrenya's brilliant smile was seen. "Well, goodbye, Matrenya," said Anatoly, kissing her. "Ah, my revels here are over. Remember me. There, goodbye. Goodbye, Matrenya. Wish me luck." "Well, Prince, may God give you great luck," said Matrenya in her gypsy accent. Two troikas were standing before the porch, and two young drivers were holding the horses. Balaga took his seat in the front one, and holding his elbows high, arranged the reins deliberately. Anatoly and Dólokhov got in with him. Makarin, Kvasnikov, and a valet seated themselves in the other sleigh. "Well, are you ready?" asked Balaga. "Go!" he cried, twisting the reins around his hands, and the troika tore up the Nizhvitsky Boulevard. "Get out of the way! Hi! Chabroo!" The shouting of Balaga and of the sturdy young fellow seated on the box was all that could be heard. On the Arbat Square, the troika caught up against the carriage. Something cracked, shouts were heard, and the troika flew along the Arbat Street. After taking a turn along the Podnovitsky Boulevard, Balaga began to rein in, and turning back, drew up at the crossing of the old Korneyitsky Street. The young fellow on the box jumped down to hold the horses, and Anatoly and Dolokhov went along the pavement. When they reached the gate, Dolokhov whistled. The whistle was answered, and a maidservant ran out. "Come into the courtyard, or you'll be seen. She'll come out directly," said she. Dolokhov stayed by the gate. Anatoly followed the maid into the courtyard, turned the corner, and ran up to the porch. He was met by Gabriel, Maria Dmitrievna's gigantic footman. "Come to the mistress, please," said the footman in his deep bass, intercepting any retreat. "To what mistress? Who are you?" asked Anatoly in a breathless whisper. "Kindly step in. My orders are to bring you in." "Kuragin, come back!" shouted Dolokhov. "Betrayed! Back!" Dolokhov, after Anatoly entered, had remained at the wicket gate and was struggling with the yard porter who was trying to lock it. With a last desperate effort, Dolokhov pushed the porter aside, and when Anatoly ran back, seized him by the arm, pulled him through the wicket, and ran back with him to the troika. All right. That's the conclusion of chapter 158. I will now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, day 158. Bad men. Imagine being an acquaintance of someone like Anatoly Kuragin. Someone like, say, a colleague, a work associate, or even a family member. How does one deal with a man of such low character? Just look at the guy. He's rude and boisterous, and he lacks all morals. He holds everyone, probably even his own family, in contemptuous disregard. He's little more than a petulant child. He has abandoned his wife to live first as a libertine in Russia, and then as the debaucher of a young innocent woman affianced already to another man. Anatoly is a coward too, because the other man is currently abroad, and therefore not around to do anything about it. In today's chapter, Anatoly fares no better. He continues to insist that his friends go along with this crazy plan. Then when it's time to say goodbye, there is not even the hint of a heartfelt sense of sorrow at their parting. Nope. Instead, it appears all Anatoly regrets about his decision to elope is that his revels in Moscow are now over. In the upcoming chapters, we'll be introduced to all manner of natural responses to Anatoly's behavior. We'll see hatred, sorrow, anger, and frustration. Though these are all instinctive responses to the abhorrent behavior of another person, they may not be the smartest response. Such responses, after all, are highly disruptive to the tranquil mind. Much better, perhaps, to take a calm step back and accept the world of human action as flawed and broken, then attempt to help the man in error. If he refuses help, forgive him and move along, accepting his refusal as outside the realm of your control. Daily Meditation. They are mistaken about good and evil. Ought we then to be angry with them, or to pity them? But show them their error, and you will see how they desist from their errors. If they do not see their errors, they have nothing superior to their present opinion. Epictetus, The Discourses. All right, that concludes my reading of and reflection on chapter 158. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links to all that are down below in the show notes. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading and reflecting on chapter 159. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.